Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Coin Door podcast. As you can see, we are not in the living room today. We're on the road. Where are we going, Collins?
We're going to Ocelot Brewing in Chantilly, Virginia.
Yeah. And why are we going there?
Because they have, as of yesterday, a Harry Potter CE, and we're going to play it.
Playing a little fancy pinball machine.
We're going to do a pin tripping episode in Open Coin Door and go play the new hotness.
Yeah. So we're going to be on location. At the end of this video, if you are watching the video, some people just listen to the audio podcast, but I will say if you watch this on a YouTube channel, or I think Spotify has the video as well, at the end I will show you some quick clips of Ocelot Brewing and their pinball setup area, and maybe a few quick clips of Jersey Jack Pinball's Harry Potter. But yeah, we figured we're going to be on the road here for the next hour or so why not set up the camera and actually do what we normally do on our weekly podcast. And frankly, this was the only time we could get together and make this work this week. So
for the next 2 weeks,
I know
this is the only time. So we said, let's do it.
Might have to come in remotely on a Zoom call or something next week to make it work.
We might have 2 unique ones in a row.
Or maybe I'll do
maybe
I'll do another pin tripping by myself and see if I can find pinball down at Disney. I'm going to be down at Florida next week at Disney.
Are you going to Disney?
I am. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be down there for just a couple days. We'd leave out on Monday and come back on Friday. We're going to Magic Kingdom and Epcot are the 2 parks. But I'm willing to go to a resort area if we know of some pinball. I've done that before. I don't think Disney has a lot of pinball in the general area. I know some of their resorts have some things. I don't even think it's very well maintained.
They have the Indiana Jones. They have special Indiana Jones with the wood rails. I've heard.
I went specifically to a resort to check out that I knew had pinball. The last time, it's been years, and it was like it was what you would expect from a Disney place: Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, and maybe Avengers. And they were really bad shape.
Yeah, I've heard that the Indiana Jones isn't good.
The Guardians was the darkest I've seen a pinball machine. Like, it was pretty gross. So I don't know how well some of those things get maintained, but I have heard about that Indiana Jones. Is that at a resort or is that in a park?
I don't know. It's in the Pinside thread a lot, like often, and guys will put it in there. The You Cheat Dr. Jones thread.
Right.
Guys will put it in there. Hey, I went to play it today and I saw the Grail and all the things. And, but I don't know what resort it's in or if it's like at an attraction, because it has its own like setup, like little cave of, I don't even know what to call it. It's in like its own little room.
Right.
But it's decorated theme wise.
I'll have to see if I can't find it.
Somebody will know where it's at.
Yeah, so I actually figure this is a good thing to talk about, is like location pinball and like where you find pinball machines. We're going to one. How did you know? This is the great way to start this, is how did you know that Harry Potter is at Ocelot Brewing? Because I think a lot of people wonder, like, how would I even know where to go and what the games were to play or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So and this is obviously a unique situation because it's a brand new game and it's an hour away from us. You wouldn't want to make the trip just hoping that maybe something would be there that you would want to play.
Yeah, I talked to the guys, the operators, and they were more than happy. Like, yeah, we'd love to have you guys come up. And then it kind of got stuck in shipping, so they were a little off, and they didn't want to announce it. And that's the other thing too. Like,
so you knew the people who run the pins at Ocelot Brewing?
I've talked to them.
Yeah. Okay.
I've contacted them, and because our hope is that we can go up and actually stream their whole, not just Harry Potter, but their whole place.
It'd be fun to take the rig and actually show you all like some gameplay from several different games that we don't have available down in Fredericksburg. Yeah. And they've got a good collection up there.
Somebody else, a random person, put on a Facebook group that he had heard that it was there.
Okay.
And so
it's a little insider knowledge.
Yeah, somebody knew somebody, and so I messaged that person directly because I didn't want to put it out in the whole internet for everybody to just crash it. So I said, hey, are you sure? Like, is this actually for real? And he confirmed. Like, oh, sweet. Okay, cool. So then I messaged one of the operators back, and he said, "Oh yeah, you know, it's up and running, and we didn't want to announce it because we weren't sure, and all the reasons why that you don't want to make the hour-and-a-half trip."
Sure.
You know, so people get disappointed or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that's how I found out, and then it got up on Pinside.
It's always very tricky. I've had this scenario myself, and I'm sure the operators at Ocelot have as well, where you get excited, a new game comes in, you put it out, and you just want to tell everybody, and then there are issues out of the box that you didn't realize, and the game is down immediately, you know, and can't be played, and now you've disappointed all the people, and you have to go back and say, like, sorry, actually, no, it's down or something. And so I think they do a really good job, particularly of like going through the whole thing and making sure that the game is good and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
I was actually very there. Trial by fire that first like day or two of like, hold it together, hold the line, you know, when
they got Jaws.
Yeah.
I was there during the day on a business trip or whatever, and the guys were kind of moving around, going through the back door where like the employees only door, you know, and coming back out and moving machines, and I was like, man, what's going on? Like, and I didn't talk to him or anything.
Right.
But later that night, I got home, and later that night they said, "Hey, Jaws is here," and I said, "Oh,
that's what
they were doing."
Yeah.
But all of their machines are very well kept. For the most part, like Reclaim is, like they are on top of them. They've got a really good collection. It's a really cool spot, and they are very good at saying, "Okay, now's the time. Hey, this has arrived. This is here."
And probably one of, I would say, in the general like DMV area, one of the best locations for playing whatever the new hotness is. They bring in so much stuff. The fact that they put a collector's edition Harry Potter in the brewery here for us to go and play is kind of unheard of, almost. Like that's pretty darn rare for any state, much less, you know, for it to only be, you know, an hour and some change away from Fredericksburg. So it's a wonderful location. They've had other games in there. I mean, everything from all the spooky ones, like
they've got a Looney Tunes.
They had Avatar.
Yeah, that's still there. A while ago,
pretty much any new Stern that comes out,
they had the old Super Mario Brothers, like the kind of smaller one.
Yeah, they don't do all modern pins. There are some older ones in there as well.
They had a GNR. That's where I fell in love with GNR. I walked in and I played the first game, and it made me smile and gave me the tingles, and I was like, I need a GNR.
I need this. Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that's what Harry Potter does. I have high expectations, but we'll see. But they do. I mean, they've got Bond. He does a very good job of getting the newest and keeping the hotness, and I think
steady rotation.
Following. He's got a league. You know, so it's one of the places that is easier to find, to know that things are there. You know what I mean? Like some places are kind of obscure, and you kind of have to actually go searching.
Yeah. And so like one way, and some people I think know about this. If you're in the pinball world, you know about this. If you're not, or you're just getting started, you might not. Is that there's a really good app for your phone, and it's also on a website. It's pinballmap.com. If you go to pinballmap.com, you can tell it your location, and it'll put on a map any place near you that has pinball machines. And it's basically, it's not community run. It's run by a person. However, anybody can submit updates to it. So Reclaim Arcade's on there, Maltese Brewing, Ocelot's on there. All these locations are on there. But for example, we'll be going to Ocelot today. If we looked on PinMap and we were like, oh, they don't have Harry Potter in there yet, we could add it. We could say, oh no, they have Harry Potter now. What did they get rid of? And look at the list and go, oh yeah, that's not there anymore, and take that off. It allows those user submissions to be like, hey, this is there, this is not, and kind of keep that stuff updated.
Do you keep yours updated? Do you do it on PinMap, or do you let the community do it?
A little bit of both. If I remember, I update it myself. I don't always remember.
We know we've talked about socials on here before.
Well,
so
yeah.
It's kind of a social media thing.
And PinMap is one of a couple places, so, you know, but if I remember, I'll go in there and update that. You know, when I get a new game, there's a lot of places that I have to update. I've got to do the leaderboards for a Stern game, have to go up on the leaderboards and do all of that. Our website has a list of games. I need to update it on the website, pinballmap.com. Another place to check, although this isn't as good for locations, and I don't think a lot of locations update their stuff there, is Pinside.com. Pinside.com is amazing as a forum for having conversations with other pinheads. I mean, I think it's good.
I'm just kidding. It gets a lot of slack. That's all it is.
It's the biggest. All right. Facebook groups can get out of hand and weird.
Yeah.
Whereas Pinside.com is really just meant specifically for pinball stuff. There's places you can buy things in there. There's a whole marketplace. And they do have areas for a location to put what games they have. And so I go in there and I update ours. That one, I do not believe a person can go in and update for another location. So that requires someone to say, this is my location and I'm going to keep these games up to date. And I'll swear, every time I go in there, I don't remember how to do it. It's so like weird because it's like I have a business and I go into the business, but that doesn't have the games. That just has the business info. And then I go to the collection. No, that's my personal collection. And so every time I have to update it, I'm like, I don't remember how to do this. So Pinball Map is probably the best.
And Pinside also has, like, where this is posted at, the Harry Potter, is they have a forum just for Virginia, Maryland play locations. And it's its own forum, and you can favorite them. So, I have that one favorited, and if anything ever pops up, it goes up to the top of your feed. You're like, oh, somebody has a new one. Or they announce tournaments. Hey, there's a league going to go on here, and this date and that date, and tournaments at different locations. So a lot of times, if you're listening to this or watching this and you're in Texas or you're in Illinois or something, they'll have a regional thread. It isn't just go to that place. Because I don't know, searching a place in Pinside, I feel like would be a little cumbersome.
Search is a little tough. I do find, to your point, a lot of people are on Facebook these days. Pinside.com is a very traditional, old school forum. The website runs really well and all that, but forums are not really the way people think, I think, these days, versus, for example, like Discord. A lot of people on Discord, a lot of people want that real-time chat. And so it can be harder to follow if you don't know how to do things like having an account and favoriting and all that. Whereas like if somebody joins a Discord, it's just like chat. People know chat, especially the younger folks. So it can be a little bit weird, but there's tons of information in there. There's owner threads for all the various games that come out where people are talking about fixes that they're making and that kind of stuff. There are, like I said, the marketplace where people do a lot of buying and selling, and they also track what games sold for, and so that's a good way to estimate what the value is on games. So Pinside has a whole lot of information. It does have, to my point, that location information in there. And yeah, I saw them post last night saying, hey, we got a Harry Potter in here, and I'm like, oh man, when we get there, they open at 1 o'clock today, which is in about 45 minutes. And
12:47, I'm beating the time. I keep gaining minutes.
I expect there might be some people waiting to play it today. We'll see. But it'll be fun. Ocelot is also a great brewery just in general. They have good beer. They're close to another one, or close-ish. Mustang Sally is in that general vicinity, right? And they've got pins as well.
Yeah, it's about 10, 15 minutes away. Yeah. That's the operator there. We went to the DMV Cup there.
Yeah.
At Mustang Sally, and the operator there, I got my Indiana Jones from him.
Oh, okay.
So it's
nice.
Pinball, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. It's not mainstream, I guess. Like it's not like
it's not as big a community. And I laugh because like people who don't know pinball exists are like, yeah, it's definitely not a big community. I didn't even know you all exist out there.
You're right, yeah.
Right. But for people who are into pinball, they think it's kind of like, oh man, this is this big thing with so many people. It's like, you could fit us all in a room.
It's not really. That was my point is, once you get to know somebody, it's almost as if you know everybody.
There are dozens of us.
Dozens.
Yeah.
So if you know you, then you know Dale.
It's very much.
And you know Dale, then you know Mike. If you know Dale and Mike, then and if we come up here and we know these guys, well then we know Mustang. So
sure.
It's pretty tight knit. I think the one thing about pinball is everybody roots for everybody, wants everybody in.
Sure.
Right. There isn't, with a few exceptions, everybody's rooting for everybody else. Right. So that's one of the cool things when you go to these locations. The operators want you to come and do. They want to spread what they have.
Right.
I don't know how I want to say that, but it isn't like, well, this is mine, and I don't. I paid however X money for this, and you need to be really careful. And that, like, it's spread the love kind of thing.
And I think tournaments have done a lot for that. You know, having games on location has done a lot for that. That's something that's kind of been born out of the last, like, I would say 10 to 12 years or so, as the craft beer scene rose and as you had more breweries and things. That was just a natural area. And, you know, the idea of pinball in bars is not a new thing by any means. But there was a period of time in the late 90s, early 2000s where, like, Stern was the only game in town, and even they were struggling. But it's
not the case now.
Not the case now by any means, but it's also wasn't a thing back then to buy games for your house. It was like you went to places to play them. I wouldn't say, you know, the norm for most people pre-COVID was to go somewhere and play it. And, you know, for people who
that was me,
who didn't go to bars, it was like breweries and things were a mainstream place where you could go like, oh wow, there's pinball machines here. That was how, yeah, like how you and I both met each other and how we found pinball, I think, was at Maltese Brewing.
At Maltese, yep.
And
I, you know what? I don't even remember how I found that it existed, because I didn't know what Pinball Map was.
I knew about Maltese because I was a Mug Club member. It was very close to my house, and I was huge into craft beer at the time. So I can remember going there, and then they added the pinball machines. They had like a multicade there, and they got rid of that, and they had, I remember
like that. Tucker loved that.
And they had like 2 pinball machines.
Waterworld
was one. I don't even remember what the other one was, but I remember Waterworld was one, and I was just sort of like, there's a Waterworld pinball machine? Weird. Yeah. And then I was just like, but I wasn't into pinball, so I was just like, huh, that's interesting. And then I kind of knew and had heard that they had started doing tournaments, but again, I wasn't super into pinball, so I was just like, yeah, whatever. But then once I planned out and made a business plan for the arcade, I was like, well, I need to get into that world and figure out what that's about, and of course the addiction set in. But yeah, I think those tournaments are a big piece of that too, right? Like you can't just, there are some operators that just put their games on location and call it a day. And that's fine. It's a business model. It's a way for them to make money and put new games out. But I think some of the most successful operators and some of the best community building things are not just having games on a location. I think the reason Maltese and Ocelot and others have success around the pinball community is because it's not just games, it's, you know, a league, as you said, or, you know, monthly tournaments or whatever the case may be,
or a launch party.
Yeah, right. So all those things I think play a role in that. And because that's really where the community comes together. It's one thing to show up on a random day like today and play some pinball, and maybe someone will be there, but we don't know who those people are. We're probably not even going to introduce ourselves. We're like, whatever.
Well, you know what?
But at a tournament, there's like, oh, what's your name? You're playing against each other.
Yes.
There's that camaraderie and, you know.
But it's also welcoming. It's not like when you go to, like, I'm from the football world. It's not like when you go to a flag football or a 7-on-7 and they're your enemies.
Yeah.
You're playing against people that are your best friends. Right, like, and you know, it strikes me. This is funny. You and I don't. We never play against each other in a tournament.
Not often. Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the last time.
It's because you're so much of a better player than I am.
Stop. You say that every time, and I'm not. You're ranked higher than me. Okay. One of the things about the tournaments, and we went to. It isn't a thing anymore because he moved, but we went to the pinball room, and he moved his place. He went to. He went to a brewery, actually, Pro Renata in Charlottesville, and he couldn't really get going that well at his location. And we were there, we streamed from there. Beautiful place. It was great. He had an upstairs and all of his pins were in very good condition. Everything was great, but it was hard for him to get people to come in the door. He started to have some tournaments.
Right.
Robert Peters, everybody that watches our streams knows Robert Peters.
He goes everywhere.
Oh!
Yeah.
And he goes to Steve's tournaments when it was in the pinball room.
Yeah.
Well, everybody that knows Robert would tell, hey, yeah, I go here. Have you ever been here? So he would bring a couple people. Now that he's at Pro Renata, all the people that go to Pro Renata already as a brewery, now they're exposed to the pinball. Sure. So he's bringing the pinball people there. The brewery people bring the brewery people there. He has tournaments there now, and he very successful. He calls them like Stern Sundays or something like that.
Yeah.
And he has them there, but people So within the community, the word of mouth happens. And I don't want it to sound like, well, you have to be in the community, right? Like you have to be in Fight Club.
No, but if you're interested
but it's easy to get into.
Yeah,
it's
very easy to get into.
Right.
And as you find out, then you start to learn, like, okay, they're having this big tournament down at Decades on this day. This is going to be over at the Roanoke Pinball Museum, just got this game in or whatever. Or I'm passing through there. I definitely need to stop by, down at this place. So you start to get a sense of the various locations because there's not a ton,
So
there's more than
you
would
just mentioned
expect.
2.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them real quick because they're vastly different. Okay,
sure.
So you just because you're in pinball and you're like, oh, there's this one and this one. So you mentioned Decades.
So Decades in Charlottesville, Virginia is very much of the Reclaim Arcade model. You pay one price to go in, all the games are on free play.
And it's large and it's been there, it's established. It's been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
It is not a new place. This is one of the places that kind of everybody
Although their
knows
location's
about.
fairly new these days.
They're
down at the Charlottesville Mall, so they did move. But wonderful collection, wonderful EM collection there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got an EM tech on hand that helps them maintain those older games. So they've got a very large pinball collection in addition to a good-sized arcade collection too. So great location.
So then you go to, and I assume that you've been there, but I don't know. I've been there multiple times. The Roanoke Pinball Museum.
I've not been there, believe it or not.
Oh!
I know. I don't get down to Roanoke.
Oh! I am doing my best Robert Peters right now.
Yeah.
Oh! Oh! So I used to travel a lot for work throughout the whole state, and I would plan time. Mm-hmm. And they're closed on Mondays. I learned that twice. So I think, well, I'm not going down there on Mondays anymore.
Right.
Nick runs the Pinball Museum. He is an awesome, awesome guy. Nick, I hope you watch this someday and you see it. You're the man. And he runs the Pinball Museum, and he's had special things there, and he does special events. He had a signing of one of the ladies from Gilligan's Island. And I was just happened to be there on that day. And he had a Gilligan's Island there, and one of the ladies signed it.
That makes more sense. I was like, why Gilligan's Island? I forgot there's a pinball machine.
There's a pinball machine themed after Gilligan's Island.
Right.
And the lady, and he had cameras set up and everything, but because it's a museum, he operates a little bit different. It is on a day pass.
Okay.
But he has a couple of things that, he can do differently because it's registered as a museum. Very nice space. The area of Roanoke that it is in is kind of like a walking mall where there's shops and there's coffee shops and there's burger joints and there's restaurants, and they're on the second floor, and he has the same type of eras as Decades does. He's got, like
the
back wall is 12
50s,
EMs
60s,
and then the solid states and then the newest ones, and
it's always fun to kind of order them in that genre, right?
Yeah.
So all your moderns are together.
But he has, so that's a place that is a few hours away, probably out of day trip range.
Yeah.
Maybe. But another place that if you go to Pinball Map and you look up the area that you're going to, it'll show you these are the ones. And Roanoke Pinball, I would recommend that place 100 times out of 100. It's just, I've never been disappointed when I went. I haven't been in a couple years because I don't travel down there anymore. But it's definitely a place if you're in Central Virginia or Southwest or anywhere near there, or if you're taking a trip through. If you're going up 81 and you've got some time, stop in and
it can be a lot of fun anytime you're traveling to look on Pinball Map and just get a sense of what's in the area, right? And you might be very surprised to find out that you're going camping and right down the road is a place that has 6 pins at a bar, and you might be like, you wouldn't have ever known if you didn't look there. Yep. So I think it's a useful resource for that.
That's how I found flippers.
Really?
I think we were talking about it, and I'm like, that's not a thing.
Yeah. It's
not a thing. But you go and you look, and you're like, holy cow, it's got 47 pin, whatever it is.
It's like, that's a gas station. That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
And the trip that I'm taking tomorrow, I have to go down to Raleigh tomorrow and Thursday. First thing I did when I looked up how far away, okay, it's going to be a 3.5, 4 hour trip, was I got on Pinball Map.
Right.
Because I knew I was going to a destination, and I did that when I went to Dallas for work.
Especially if you're going to a big city. Absolutely. There's going to be pinball there.
I went to Dallas for work, and I looked up, I left the whole, everybody was doing their thing, and I'm like, I'm going over here. I borrowed the company car, and I went over to the place, and it was a cool spot. I think I got kids' t-shirts while I was there. I was like, I'm never coming back to this place. It's in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
But I used Pinball Map to do that. So if you want to find them, and then this place down in Raleigh is called Boxcar, which I think is a pretty popular place. I've heard of it. You said you've been there.
Yeah, Boxcar is great. Boxcar
I'm looking forward to going.
Yeah, they've got a good arcade collection as well as pinball.
And it sounds like they have
they have multiple places, or at least they have two that I know of, Raleigh and Durham.
Oh,
North
really?
Carolina, yeah.
Oh.
But the Raleigh one is really good.
Yep. So I'll be there either tomorrow night or Thursday afternoon. I got to see about the schedule, but.
And it was useful for me early on when we were starting the arcade. When we had decided that we were going to open an arcade, obviously you want to experience as many different models as you can.
Yes.
And I think that's to your point about like how Roanoke Pinball Museum is very different than Decades, than Ocelot Brewing Company, right? Like everybody has different things. Are you paying for coins? Are you getting free play? How many games? What the types are? All that kind of stuff. And
that's a good point. You look on there because a lot of times when you're traveling, I'm only going there for an hour. I'm going to eat a meal and I'm only going to have an hour. I don't want to pay a day pass.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $15 or $20 because if I pay $15 or $20, I want to be there for a few hours. I want to get the whole experience. But if it's coin drop, then yeah. Or if it's like get a card.
Yeah.
If it's that kind.
But then it's 6 in one, half dozen the other, right? Because the locals that might want to spend an entire day or something, and they're like, oh man, like $15 is a steal for me to hang out here all day playing pinball. This is awesome, so like.
Oh yes, 100%
too, right?
That's why when I go to Roanoke Pinball Museum, it's a day pass.
Right.
So and it's all day, like you guys do. You can go, you can show up when they open, leave for lunch. Go, and it's in a place where you can just like go downstairs and walk across the corner and get a really nice meal.
And Decades,
and then go back.
I think this is interesting because this is another model. Decades does 2 hours and full day. So you can choose. I believe one is $12 and one is $17. So they kind of split the difference there a little bit. The average amount of time most people stay at the Reclaim is 2 hours, right? Like that's like pretty much the average span of like somebody's coming, they're playing some games, they might eat some food or whatever. They come in at 4 o'clock, they're at about 6:30 or so, they're gonna head out or something.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you'll have.
Seems low to me, but I'm there all the time.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'm an anomaly.
You'd be the outlier that would be there for a long time, and you might have other people that are there. I wouldn't say there's many that would stay less than 2 hours. You want to get your money's worth in that sense.
2 to 3 hours, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you got to imagine on a weekday like a Wednesday or Thursday, we're only open for 5 hours anyway, 4 to 9. So it would be a lot for someone to be there the whole 5 hours.
The whole time.
Split the difference and you're right at that average, right?
Well, when we go to the Outer Banks, Flippers was there, but I was actually, this is a funny story. I was looking for pinball, and I think I asked a question in one of the like pinball enthusiast pages where the pinball was in the Outer Banks. Like, hey, what do you guys recommend? And I don't even remember who it was. Somebody private messaged me and said, hey, I live in Corolla up north and I have a private collection. He said, on the spot, I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
He said, you're more than welcome to come up to the house and play.
See, that's awesome.
And I was like, thanks. And I was pretty new. I mean, this was a couple years ago.
So
I was still new, and I was like, is this like a creeper?
Right.
But he was like, he had really nice pins and all these things.
Did you take him up on it?
No, I didn't.
You didn't because you were so new. You were
like,
that's weird.
I don't know if that's a thing, right? Like, do you just go to somebody's house and play pinball?
But like today, you'd be like, let's do it.
Yeah,
like, that's
if somebody
amazing.
invited me, I think he had an Elvira or whatever, and it was pretty new then, and I was like,
I get that.
You have like a windowless van and candy or what? So if I actually, it's funny, this time or last time we went, I tried to go back through my messages to see if I could find, because I would definitely do it. But so when I was doing that, one of our favorite places in the Outer Banks is Lucky 12. It's a tavern.
So I found that place. We to your exact same point, we were staying down at the Outer Banks in like the Kitty Hawk area.
I remember this. You asked me about it.
And I looked on Pin Map, and I was like, get out of here. There is a bar not like 2 blocks away from the house.
From where you were staying.
So it was literally like I could be like, hey, I'm going to head down to the beach for a little bit and check out a place and walk 2 blocks down. And it was that Lucky 12, sorry. Lucky 12 Tavern. And they had, I think, three pins at the time that I went.
Milepost 12, that's why it's Lucky 12.
Gotcha.
And we started going, Tucker was like 6 years old. I mean, I think I mean, it was, and they have great pizza and great wings. This was before COVID. We were going to Lucky 12.
It's like a small dive bar.
It is. It's a tavern. It's a tavern, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with everything else, the prices went up, but we would still go, and we're like, oh, you know, I need to get off in this exit.
And you got to do that driving thing.
Yeah. And so we went, and time before last, we were there. We walked around, and I think I had looked on Pin Map, and they had 3 pins, and I said, get out of here.
Yeah.
They got pinball machines now? Like, could this place be any more perfect?
Right.
Because they do like brick oven pizza. You know, it comes out and it's got the little, you know, it's home cooked and all the things. And their wings are really good. So we always go there. And now they have pinball. Yeah. So it's one of those things where if you're going to a destination and you're a pinball person, you can always find pinball. Right. You can always find it. It's just, do you have to put it in a forum and say, hey, I'm traveling to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You know, who recommends? And that might be the other thing too, is Pin Map might not give you a recommendation.
It's very just raw data, right? I mean, there is a part for people to put in notes on the individual games.
And you could read the reviews and be like, look, all these machines are super dirty. The lights are out. Yeah. Nothing works.
But I find that stuff really outdated. Even if somebody leaves the rare thing, it'll be like, you know, like Stranger Things ramps not coming down, and it's from
6 months ago.
Yeah, right. And I'm just like, that is like, we work on these games every single week. PinMap's not going to be the place that you want to like know whether a game's working well or not. And I don't get any notification when somebody leaves a comment on there.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Isn't that wild?
That's an interesting tidbit. Is you don't know. You would have to scroll it all the time.
PinMap has no concept of like an owner owning a location and having a login for that. And my login is the same as everyone else's. It's all just user generated content. So I can add and remove games. You can add and remove games. Obviously, they don't want people abusing that, or they'll get their accounts removed.
You know what that reminds me of?
More like a wiki. Right?
You use this at the arcade in the bar. Is Untapped.
Right.
You know Untapped?
Yep.
So an Untapped is for craft beer, for bars. And
I just recently canceled them. We can talk about that too.
Did you?
Yeah.
So Untapped, you can find beer.
Sure.
Like it's just like Pin Map, but for beer. Yeah. And you
with
find
like
a place.
check-ins, and you take your photo of your beer. And you
I used to be heavy into it, man. I used to be
absolutely.
Can you imagine? Pinball Map should do that.
Yeah.
Pin Maps, you should be able to take your picture and put it on there and be like, this is the, you know what I mean? Anyway, so on Untapped, I put my old house and this house on Untapped as a venue. I had like...
Your house was a craft beer venue?
It was.
Nice.
Because
you'd be drinking at your house.
My old house, we had people over all the time, and we were craft breweries. Right. I mean, we were crafties all the time.
It was definitely big back in the day.
Yeah,
and we would be hopping around to places.
Right.
And it was also a lot of places, that's what including ours at the time, like I said, we did just recently change, but that was how we had like a menu up on a TV and printed menus. Like Untapped did all of that. A lot of breweries still do that.
They still do,
yeah, I got rid of them because it was expensive.
But that's what, like, on Untapped, I made my own venue.
Sure.
And I did, like, so on Pinball Map, it's a venue. It isn't an owner thing where you go in and you put your establishment.
I wish there was some way
anybody could do
it. Because I would like to know if somebody left a comment on something, or, you know, but
I haven't been on Untapped in years. I haven't done it since, oh gosh, it's been probably 2 or 3 years since
we were using it. Obviously, we have a TV that shows the menu of all the craft beers and wines and all that kind of stuff. We have the printed one, and they do a decent job of the printed stuff. And then we have it embedded on our website. So the 3 things that we use Untapped for. Not a lot of people do the check-in still. It's a very small number of people that will actually check in and say, I'm drinking X, Y, and Z. That's like a very small portion of it. But it has helped quite a bit with creating those menus.
Could you see the check-ins?
I didn't get notifications of them, but you could see them.
Guess,
yeah, the TV would show them.
The TV would scroll them. I remember
TV would scroll them, and then I could go in there and log in and see who had checked in and, you know, comment on it and that kind of thing. Not that I was going to. It is $100 a month for their baseline plan for a venue to have Untapped. And I was kind of like, $1,200 a year, that is real steep. So I started looking around. I'm like, you know, I'm in my bootstrap phase where I'm just kind of like, maybe
I can do it.
Maybe that's a Word document. Maybe Tim's opening up Canva and making a beer menu or something.
I'm in my bootstrap era. I'm making you a t-shirt.
I did end up finding, I did go with a service. It's beermenus.com. Again, not sponsored, but man, would I love a sponsor here. So if you would love to sponsor Open just kidding. No, beermenus.com was one that I found in a Reddit thread that people were recommending as a decent alternative that had lots of the similar types of stuff. And so we recently switched to them. Same stuff. TV, printed menus, website embed, all the things. So it'll look a little bit different for people, but I think most people won't notice at all. And
I noticed.
It's well half the cost of Untappd.
Now that you said that, well, and you had just revamped
the design of it.
You revamped your paper menus, your handout menus.
Yep.
And so I thought it was just part of that. I thought you were doing it.
Yeah.
So I didn't think anything. I was like, oh yeah, he's redoing all the menus. Well, now it makes a lot more sense now because you changed the service and now it looks different. And it looks, it's nice.
I actually think it looks better.
It's very clean.
It's very consolidated too. Yeah, it was only, it was very nice front and back, printing 2 pages as opposed to 10 with Untappd. So.
And the TV looks clean.
Yeah.
The menu that you look up and see, I mean, that's. So,
yeah,
when you go, 90% of people are going to be looking up there.
Again, to my point, and we've talked about this before, the balance of time versus all the other things is like, I absolutely could have made a free PowerPoint presentation of our beer menu. And I could have opened up Microsoft Word and printed it. When we first started offering beer, I wrote it in a Google Doc.
Yep.
And I would print it out. And then I would update that and print out new copies all the time. It is exhausting trying to remember what is the order of what's there, what's not, and getting it updated and all that kind of stuff. And you're having to manually put all that information in, whereas these websites, what they do well is that there's a database of all of this stuff. If I start typing Aslan El Frutero, it's going to go, oh, you want that beer. It's 5%, it's a sour, it comes from Chantilly, Virginia. They fill out all that info, the ABV, all that, you know, so.
What's El Frutero?
It's a new sour from Aslan. It's in our fridge right now. It's fairly new, yeah. Check it out.
I'm an Aslan.
Yeah, Aslan's great.
I really like Aslan.
Aslan's up here, right?
Yes.
Somewhat.
Chantilly. You just said Chantilly. I think it might be Fairfax.
I'm not a Nova guy.
Aslan is in this area. Did I tell you that my best friend's brewery at home in Clarion, his fiance is his brewer? Well,
yes,
no, they're married. Sorry, they're his wife. She's the master brewer, and they did a collab with Aslan.
Yeah.
But they didn't distribute.
They didn't make it down.
I never got one. I never got this.
But yeah, so it's more of a database that I can pull that, and for the most part, everything's in there. So it's just adding and removing beers becomes a lot more simple, embedding them on websites, and then I'm not doing 3 different things in 3 different formats every single time we're updating a beer. I could go on my phone right now and say we're getting a new beer in, and put it in there. It's automatically going to update the TV. It's automatically going to update our website, and the next time I go to print the menus, it'll be on there. So like, it just, you know, it's cheaper than Untappd, but it's worth the cost that it is for me to have that kind of service.
As opposed to you doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, other things, there might be trade-offs where I decide, you know what, I'm willing to put in that work.
Do you think people, have you ever heard of people, or do you think that people use PinMap to get to Reclaim?
I do.
Or Pinball Map?
Absolutely.
Do you think it is a...
You know, we're right off of 95. I do think you've got people traveling north and south, even, you know, going to be somewhat in the area, and I'm sure people look at that and find out about that. It's between us and Maltese, we're in a fairly large area without a lot of pinball. And one of the nice things with Pinball Map is it literally has a map view. It's not just typing in actual addresses, but it will show you like a Google Maps with pinpoints of the various things and how many pins there are in that location.
Right.
Other than Fredericksburg, you've got like from Spotsy all the way down to Richmond, or to Ashland.
Ashland works center of the universe.
But until that, nothing. And then north of Fredericksburg, you got to get all the way up here. You got to get up to Ocelot.
I think there's a spot in Woodbridge that has like a laundromat or something that has 2 or 3. Yeah, it has like a Dirty Harry or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
That's it though.
I mean, even that's 45 minutes north of Fredericksburg.
It's weird to me.
It's a fairly large gap of an area. And then suddenly you go, whoa, there's, between Maltese and I, it's 29, 30 pins. It's like, holy crap, Fredericksburg has something there. You got Bearded Monkey, which has another 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, Bearded Monkey up on 17. Yeah. It's weird to me that Woodbridge, Dale City, Potomac, like Dumfries, they don't have anything. No. There's nothing up there.
It's an opportunity.
It is. Location number 2.
Yeah, right.
Except I'm not traveling on 95 like that. No.
So, but
an opportunity though.
So Fredericksburg is definitely a hot spot for pins, and I think people see that on the map.
There's that place out in Culpeper.
Sure.
What's it?
Throwbacks.
Throwbacks
is great. And they've got a good collection. But
if you get there and see, it's
they're
funny.
not convenient off of 95 though.
They're not at all.
Yeah, I mean, getting to Culpeper is like you got to be going to Culpeper. You're not like on the way.
Or you got to be going out to the mountains, like if you're going out to the valley.
Sure.
If you're coming down 95 and you're going out to 81,
right?
That would be how you would do that, and then you would stop in Culpeper. But it also in Culpeper, it isn't easy to get to. It's like downtown. It is not an easy place to get to either.
Sure.
Which is advantageous. For you.
So I'm sure there are people pinheads that just look for those locations and go, oh man, 19 pins, free play, hell yeah! Like I'm gonna stop by there, or I need to look up what's going on in Fredericksburg in general, and they'll. Well,
that's what I did. I'm going to Raleigh. I just looked it up, and Boxcar is 8 minutes away from where I'm going to be. So I was like, you know what? That's great.
And you were talking about Robert Peters, and he travels all over for his work.
Everywhere.
And he has the ability with the job that he does to schedule his jobs. And you've told me this before, that he actually schedules jobs based on when
tournament days.
Tournaments are going to be happening at these locations. So not only does he find out where there's pinball, he's probably gone to enough places, he knows where all the pinball is, but now he's looking on their Facebook and being a part of those groups to figure out, oh, they got a tournament on Wednesdays. Hey, I can do that job down in Raleigh on Wednesday, and so that he can do the job in the daytime and then go to the tournament at night, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So,
And I think...
I mean, that's hardcore, but that's cool.
Once you get... I don't want it to sound like you can't get in, right?
No.
You're not getting in. But once you start playing pinball and you start enjoying it, you're going to... I remember when I started playing, you're going to want to play... Oh, there's an Addams Family? I used to be a huge Addams Family fan. So you're going to find that machine. You're going to want to play that. I can remember when I first started looking on Pinside, just going through the marketplace or going through the top 100 and being like, why is there a Creature from the Black Lagoon? Why?
Well, and I remember when I first got into pinball, I was like, how do these people who play this know all these games? There are hundreds of pinball machines, and these people are talking about it like they've played hundreds of pins. And at the time, that was like unfathomable to me. Like
me too.
I was just sort of like they're literally talking about games, and I've never heard of like 90% of these. And it's like, and now looking back on that, it's just like, yeah, I can name lots of early Williams and Solid States and all that. Yeah, it
I was the same way.
It happens, right?
So when you're new and you're like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Family's a big Star Wars fan, and there was a Star Wars. Like, oh, they have a Star Wars. I want to go play that.
Right.
I remember when Mom's when it was in the organic market, I found that place, and they had a Star Trek, and they had a Guardians, and they had a Hobbit. And I bought a Star Trek because I found that place, and I was like, ooh, Star Trek sounds fun.
Right.
So it was between Guardians and Star Trek. You got a Guardian, so it was like, I got a Star Trek. I also got a Hobbit later.
It's probably the biggest driver for people new to pinball is like, what's the theme? And do they have some relationship to the theme, right?
Yep.
Like, you're not going to have someone brand new to pinball that's going to be like, I've heard this is a fast shooter.
I heard this is a fun... But at the same time, I think theme okay, Medieval Madness doesn't have a movie.
No, but it's got a castle crashing.
But it's got a castle, right? It's knights in shining armor.
Yeah.
So to me, that appealed to me. And Medieval Madness is a classic, really good game. Some people might be like, nah, it's okay. But the theme adds to it for me. I'm not a Star Trek fan. I'm a Star Wars guy. Right. But Star Trek is a really good game. And it's got the big ship in the middle that,
shaking and doing all the things.
It's still Tucker's. If I say, Tucker, what game should I ever get ever? He'll say Star Trek.
Star Trek.
It's his favorite game ever.
Yeah.
Madeline's is Getaway.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't have a movie to it. It's just...
Well, a lot of the early ones...
It's actually a pretty poor theme for kids to go after because it's about running from the cops.
Yeah.
So, but it's a cool game. It's got the supercharger. So if you find these things on PinMap and you get to go...
I would say it's more rare for a modern game to not have a theme, right? Like
100%.
A lot of the ones that you're citing are from the 90s, and the 80s
Yep.
and those kind of things. It's like, yeah, that at the time it wasn't very popular because of the expense involved to take a movie license and turn it into a pinball machine. You saw more of that in the early 90s onwards with like Addams Family and a lot of the stuff Williams was doing. But,
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but back in like the late 80s or very, very early 90s,
Yeah.
I mean, they were just
Tales of the Arabian Nights,
Right.
94, 93. You know, that's not, but it has a theme behind it, you know, and that's another, I mean, great
yeah.
classic game. It's kind of shallow. It's pretty, there's not a lot to it.
But people were playing these on location. They weren't buying them for their house.
Right.
If you're buying something for your house, I think you have more of a sense of like wanting it to be this collector piece that's near and dear to your heart in some way.
Like this Harry Potter that we're getting ready to
Totally.
play.
I mean, I think that's going to drive it a lot, right? I mean, obviously people like playing on location to get a sense of a game, but these days the game has changed a little bit, so to speak.
Well,
with you know, that the fact that, I mean, there's people I talk to that come to the arcade and then they'll buy a Jaws pinball for their house or a Godzilla. I mean, lots of people that I know have bought games for
funny?
their house that they had never bought pinball before. And I'm like, that's interesting. Not only
Mark did.
Yeah.
That's what, you know.
Mark, Lauren, Cooley.
Francis. Francis, he had.
I think he bought it before Reclaim was open.
But he was at Maltese.
Yeah. Oh,
know?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think it's definitely a thing now these days where people are willing to put some money into that. And I think it's also interesting to me that, to your point, like, if there's something at Reclaim, you're like, well, I can always play that one at Reclaim. I want something different.
The guy that I talked to about this.
I've talked to, they're like, I was talking to James, who plays
James is great.
James Matteries plays in our tournaments, and he's gotten big into pinball in the last couple months, last year or so, I guess you would say, and gotten to be a really, really good player.
Yes.
I mean, he was in the finals on our last monthly tournament, and I was talking to him, and he was like, yeah, I don't have anything in my house. I just come here all the time. He said, but it sure would be nice. I don't know if I could swing it, but to have one in my house. And I was like, which one would you get? And he said, it's got to be Jaws. He's like, I love Jaws. I play that all the time. And I'm like, you wouldn't be bored with the fact that you can play it not only here,
both places,
but also at Maltese Brewing. And he goes to both. And
yeah, they have one too.
They have a Jaws as well. And he was just like, no, it's that good of a game that he said to be able to put the time on. There's so much in there, and I feel like I would just really appreciate that. And I was like,
no
wow.
way, fam. Nah, fam.
No, that's not you.
I can't do no.
Yeah.
No. The guy that I talked to about this, we were talking back and forth, and he's got a collection of pins.
Yeah.
And he said, he was telling me about a lot of things of it and just offering up information. And he said, I'm starting to realize that I don't need to have all these pins because it's easier and way cheaper to just go to these places to play.
Sure.
And I want a pinball machine in my house. I mean, I just had to sell one. I sold James Bond, which you don't have, which is one of the reasons I had it.
Right.
But I have Indiana Jones, which nobody
in the area has.
Anywhere has.
Nowhere, yeah.
And I don't think if either of the places had a game that I wanted, I would get it. Unless, like, I got GNR, and then you got GNR, and then you got rid of GNR really fast.
Well, and of course, we both know Matt Larson, and he's buying and selling all the time. He takes a different approach, which is, I just want a game for like a week or two.
Yes.
And he's willing to just grab a game, play it for a little bit to learn how to play it. It's different to be able to learn in a home environment where you can hear the call-outs and learn the code and all the things.
He's a savant, though.
And then he moves it on to the next person. And so he's turning and burning. It's not about a collection for him at all. He doesn't see any of these as collector pieces for him. It's strictly about when I'm at my house, I'm practicing pinball, so I want to practice as much different types of pinball as possible.
And I mean, within a week or two,
and he's willing to drive all over, and because the buy-sell thing, I mean, having built an arcade, I can speak to. It's a lot of work to drive out places, pack up things, do all that.
He's also built a great reputation for being a buy-sell guy.
Sure.
I mean, he has a very good. I was over at his house the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I can't sell it like this.
Yeah,
I got to fix it up."
Well, that's the thing.
He's like, I won't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't just.
He's got a great reputation. He's got repeat people that come back and say, "Hey, what do you have?" And he'll contact them first.
Takes a level of stamina though to be willing to like get in your car and go and pack up a game and move it over here and then grab this game and bring it down here. It's quite an investment of time and labor to do all of that. Not something that I think many people can get into. We've got a couple more minutes before we're going to head in here and play this game. They don't open for another 10 minutes or so, but we should talk about the last week. There wasn't a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
We had our July 4th weekend. I will tell you, we can put this in the notes for next year, and it's always going to be true, and it's unfortunate. July 4th is not great for an arcade. People moving around doing things. We did close on Friday. That's a gut punch. But I knew going into it that not a lot of people would probably come out. There probably would have been some people, but it's much harder to swallow one of the busier days of the arcade being one in which you have $0 in revenue. So
yeah, I didn't think about that, because close on a holiday, but it's one of the major days.
Yeah.
And
if I have to close on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I don't care. Like, it is what it is.
It was also karaoke day.
Right. So we
normal
did
karaoke.
And so we said when we were closed on Friday, we were like, we don't want to miss that. And so we were like, let's push it to Saturday and see what the turnout will be. And what did you think? Because you were running it. I was there. You have more perspective. I haven't been to karaoke in a while.
So,
in terms of like what that crowd on Saturday was compared to a normal first Friday karaoke.
First of all, our first Friday karaoke's are the best karaoke's.
You've told these people. They're tired of hearing it from you.
But listen, I have to preface that, because on Saturday, it was a completely different crowd for the first 2 hours. Really? There were maybe...
In terms of regulars you're used to seeing?
Maybe 2 regulars. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
There was a huge group, maybe 3. I can remember 3 right offhand. That were there, that were regulars. That I was like, hey, you're here for karaoke. Thanks for coming on a Saturday. I really appreciate it. And that's one of the things that I do too, is when I see, like, I talk to them.
Right.
I interact with them. I'm not like don't touch me, I'm only here to do this.
Sure.
And I think they gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
So anyway, bigger party, probably 12, 15 people all signing up. The music was a little different. I honestly didn't know very many of the songs for like the first hour.
Yeah.
Which was weird. So it wasn't mainstream.
Not your typical karaoke.
They were there for karaoke on a Saturday night. That's why they were there. The regulars came because they knew it was on Saturday. However, at about 10 o'clock, more people showed up. And it was crowded again. It was a big turnout.
Yeah.
And then it was a lot of the same karaoke songs that everybody knows, that everybody sings. And when we do karaoke,
so the second half felt a little bit more like your typical Friday
night.
Yeah.
And I think I messaged this, and we talked about this. It may be a case where if we do a Saturday night, it is a Saturday night crew, and a Friday night is a Friday night, because people work, or people...
You got different work schedules.
People did work, and they don't want to go out on Friday night, and Saturday is the night that I'm off, because Sunday I don't have to,
Even for me personally, I hadn't been to karaoke in quite a while, and I decided to come out because I'm like, it's a Saturday night. And
sing.
Yeah, I sang. I did all the things, right? Yeah. But because it was Saturday night, if it had been Friday, I'd have been like, nah, skipping it.
Well, that's a good...
And I don't know why in my head, but it was just sort of like, oh, this is different and fresh and fun.
Yeah.
And I definitely, for people, there are nights that they plan to go out and nights that they plan to cocoon themselves, in their living room under a blanket.
I think both of our families, if you were like, yeah, let's go out on Friday night, our significant others would be like, nah, I'm not going out on a Friday night.
You just got done working a full week or something.
I'm not going to people anymore. I don't even want to go out and have a drink. I want to sit down and watch TV or just be at my place. And I think Saturday night is a different... It was. And it wasn't I'm very appreciative. They were a great crowd.
Yeah.
They got up and they sang and they were very interactive. And that's one of the things that we do is, like, you fix the lights. Right when it started.
Yeah.
And we were all like in agreement. It's 100% worth it to delay 5 minutes so that the lights work.
I had to get a big ladder, and so I was like, it's going to be a whole thing,
tables.
But I think it's definitely worth it to have 100%. All of the lighting. Yeah.
100% it was worth it. And that's part of what we do. We're not just up there on a stool or with, all the lights on or whatever. You've got the lasers, you've got the lights, we had the mist machine on, you've got the big speakers. Everybody is involved in our karaoke when you karaoke, if you sing the right songs.
Right.
And in the second half, that's what was happening. So, in fact, I haven't had to do this in a long time. I close right on time every single time. And we were A very regular.
I'll allow it.
Came in and he took the mic as the last one, and I was trying to not, but he wasn't giving up. So I said, fine.
That's fine.
We'll do it. And it was a couple minutes late. And the regulars stayed, and they were all doing their thing. And it ended up being really, really good. Actually ended, I told you, EK, he was trying to clear out the queue because that's been a problem before for the next time that the old queue is there.
Gotcha.
So he was clearing it out. And as he cleared it, I think he went too far, and it shut their song down.
No.
They were doing play that funky music. Play that funky music, white boy. And George kept pointing at me because I was the funky
You're the
white
funky
boy.
music.
Yeah.
Oh, the funky white boy.
I was the funky white boy.
Right.
And I was just playing around scratching during the song and kind of like, all right, well, come on.
So then you had no song?
Yeah, I had no song. So I was actually scratching them for the last minute of getting it out. So, and EK was like, that was an amazing save. Thank you so much. Because he was like, oh, sorry. But it worked really well. And I mean, I don't scratch that much, but then even the people that were there noticed what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we literally made it look like it wasn't a mistake.
That's cool.
And they were like, oh, that's so cool. Like they were clapping. It was like, I see you. And we had somebody else come up and be like, look, we're from DC and this is the best karaoke. Like we don't have this in DC. We don't have this anywhere around us. And I was like,
heck yeah. That feels good, right?
I'm definitely gonna call that out every time that I can.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a successful experience. We've talked about wanting to do more stuff on Saturday nights.
Yes.
And I think that because that 8 to midnight time frame is like we are open, but it's typically a downward slope. And if we can get something happening, then we can maintain the momentum of a Saturday.
Did you look at the momentum? Did you look at the numbers?
I did, and it was good.
It was fine. It was worth it?
It was. Oh, absolutely.
It was worth it. Yeah.
It was down more during the day again because of the holiday, but
you were talking about that last time.
To bring some people into the building. And
what problem does it solve?
Right.
And so, hey, is it working towards solving that problem?
Yeah.
Doing that once a month on a Saturday. The people that said that about DC, that was the first time there.
Well, and that'll be a good test then of the Reclaim Voice, which will be in 2 weeks. Is that right?
What?
The Saturday.
We are?
The Saturday music one, I think, is in 2 weeks. Right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was
like, we have another one? Yeah. The next Saturday one.
Am I wrong about this?
Is the silver screen.
Because
movies.
I don't think we're always going to have our first Friday karaoke, but that'll be a first time doing another Saturday thing that's completely different. This was just moving it one day, and a lot of the regulars still came to it. That's going to be a whole. We're just trying this brand new thing, and it's going to be on a Saturday, and we'll still have stuff on Fridays and see if people still come out for it. But if we can get that going, then absolutely.
Well, think about that. They came from DC on a Saturday. Can you imagine trying to do the commute on a Friday night?
No. Yeah, I think that's a perfect example.
So, and even coming up from Richmond, or especially coming down from DC or Woodbridge on 95, Saturday evening is way better than a Friday.
So I'll be curious to see if the crowd is very similar to this one and
I'm excited.
Being different and that kind of stuff.
I'm excited to build that up for what we're doing.
Yeah. This coming week, couple things, and I'll fill you all in. Maybe not next week. I don't know. I'll be on vacation, but maybe we'll figure something out. But we're doing that mixology class on Wednesday. 18 out of 20 tickets sold, so just about sold out.
Nice.
I did close it off because she had to get some gifts and we have to prepare some supplies and things for it. But yeah, 18 tickets sold for this new mixology class that we're trying out, which is going to be a ton of fun. That's on Wednesday night. Nothing going on Thursday, and then Friday we have a band, Unchained. And we talked about this as far as advertising and stuff, and I've been trying it out, is actually running Facebook ads for some of these Friday events.
Oh, I've seen them.
So I've been doing
They work.
Unchained has been doing, I've had Facebook ad up for that event, and then as of this Friday, I'll switch over and have one open for Emo Nights.
Emo Night.
So I think, it's unfortunate that Facebook makes you pay to play, but I do think, to your point, that it works. I think it gets it in front of people's faces that might not have seen it before, and those ads are specifically going to the event page where they can say, I'm going, or I'm interested, and then Facebook will start reminding them about the event. So Facebook has a nice ecosystem for that if you're willing to embed yourself in it.
If you do it right.
So been trying some of that stuff out. It's 1 o'clock.
It's 1 o'clock.
I got to cut this off because we're going to go in here and play some fun pinball, but I am going to take the camera with me and I'll get some B-roll footage.
Stay tuned.
If you're watching the YouTube video,
yeah.
you'll see some of that. Otherwise, if you're just listening to it, then you'll just hear me in the background going, ooh, wow, cool.
Look at that. Look at that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, but thank you all for watching. Appreciate you all so much, and we will see you all next time.
Next time.
Later.
See ya.
All right. So we are in Ocelot Brewing. How many pins are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 19 pins. Same as Reclaim Arcade. But this is the prize. This is why we're here, although I'm going to run down the list here so that you all can see. So this is Harry Potter. We're definitely going to be playing some of that. And this is the collector's edition. This is a $15,000 game. So incredible that they put it on location here. It's got this incredible topper up there. And then this is their whole stern row. A lot of the ones that you would normally see here, right? So all the newest stuff. There's a Metallica remaster. We don't have one of those in Fredericksburg, so that's exciting. Got a Pulp Fiction down here. Stern Pirates of the Caribbean. They do a card setup here, so you have to get a card and load it up. And they've got some other arcade games like Big Buck Hunter and Galaga, Miss Pac-Man. There's an old school one, 8-Ball Deluxe, and then we go right back into some moderns. 007, John Wick. Some DMD ones like Fishtails and Twilight Zone. And then you've got a couple more JJPs, Elton John, Avatar, and Collins and I were both excited about this. I had forgotten that they got an Evil Dead in here. So Spooky Pinball's Evil Dead. Looking forward to playing with that. Look at that freaking topper. I mean, so cool. So yeah, Ocelot Brewing, an amazing location, as you can tell. A lot going on there, and we're excited to play some of this.
Death is a battle is lit.
It must be on you.
Yeah, I'm still here. Peter Pettigrew.
Watch the flippers. That's